Today we're going to focus on making inferences, but first we need to define what an inference or what it means to infer. To infer means to figure something out about a text that the author does not tell you. Okay, so how can we infer? How are these inferences developed? So when we're making inference, we're taking information from the text, right here, information from the text, and we are adding that to our background knowledge that we already have in our heads, experiences, things that we've read about it that we can bring to it. And that, combined together, equals inferencing, which means going beyond just the words that are on the page. Okay, so now let's look at the standard of what we need to be able to do. Okay, so the formal language of the standard asks us to cite several pieces of textual evidence to support analysis of what the text explicitly says, as well as inferences drawn from the text. So the portion of the standard that we're focusing on in this video is the inferences drawn from the text, is making inferences. Okay, so if you're anything like me, that's just a whole bunch of words. Now let's break down exactly what I want us to be able to do. As after doing this, I want us to be able to identify inferences from a text. And I want to be able to formulate inferences, which means to make my own inferences from textual materials. Well, in this video, I want us to think of our texts as images, because we are already experts in inferencing, because we make inferences all the time. When we're watching a commercial, when we see pictures in a magazine, or reading comic books or graphic novels, we look at these images and see the pictures and see the way things interact, and we can make inferences or assumptions based on that. So I want us to practice making inferences from these images so that when we go back to reading the book and reading between the lines and making connections between the characters, we can really see how easy this is because we already know how to do it. Okay, so I want us to look at how we are going to do this. So as we are looking at these images today, I want us to think what the text says. What, in this case, the image. What do I see in the image? What are the people wearing? Who are in there? Are they people? Is it animals? What does the setting look like? What is the image saying to me explicitly? Okay, so then I want to say what my brain thinks. So when I look at the picture, what do I think? What assumptions can I make based on the knowledge that I already have? So we're going to combine those two things once we figure them out, and we're going to make our own inferences on that. So let's look at the picture I want us to focus on. Okay, so let's break down this image. So I'm going to talk out loud of how I am going to make my inferences. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the image and see what I can draw explicitly from it. So that guy, is that a Navy uniform? That looks like a Navy uniform. And he's in uniform too. So I wonder if that is, maybe it's wartime? Maybe it's after a war? I wonder what war. But if I look at how people are dressed, I'm thinking it's older. It's not in recent years. And the picture is in black and white. And if I look, some of the signs, those aren't modern day signs. Okay, so I've broken down what I've seen in this image. So let me get out my chart. What does the text say? I think that it is maybe older. Older, my handwriting's lovely. Older uniforms. So there are a lot of men in uniforms. So, what does my brain think? Well, if there's a lot of men in uniforms and the people seem happy and it's older, I bet this is celebrating the end of a war. Yeah, that's probably right. I'm going to go with that. Celebrating the end of the war. Okay, and it's older. So I'm going to guess World War II. And actually, I know a little bit about this photo, and it is from World War II. But you can see how I've made those connections based on what the text said and what my brain has said. So now let's make an inference. Now let's think back to I can statements and what the language of the standard was. So, when I am making my inference statement, I'm thinking, let's see. Now I need to cite my evidence. So I'm going to say based on the image, based on the image, I can infer that the couple in the photo is celebrating the end of a war. Now, I don't know why that's not all showing up, but we're just going to go with it and pretend you can see all of it. So, I have made my inference. I've used what the text explicitly said, the things that I observed, and then what my background knowledge was, what my brain thought. And then I made my inference, and I cited my source. I said based on the image. Now, if it was a text or a comic strip, I would specifically reference that. I can infer that the couple in the photo are celebrating the end of a war. So see, inferencing really isn't all that hard, and you do it in your brain all the time. So what I'm asking you to do in these next photos is break apart your thinking. First, see what the text says and write that down. And then as you're writing that down, your wheels in your mind are already going to start going. And now you're going to tell me what your brain thinks. You're going to tie those two together in a nice neat bow and make an inference based on what you have found. You guys are going to do incredibly great because remember, you're already experts. This is something you do all the time. So good luck.